Welcome to CasuTech channel. We have Redmi Note 9S in this episode. Most people say this is the India version Redmi Note 9 Pro, but actually there is a little bit difference among these two. So let's find out in this video. Both front and the back of the phone are protected by Gorilla Glass 5, hence the anti-scratch level are same at the front and back. But body frame is plastic, hence make the phone a bit lighter, but at the same time also a bit weaker as compared with the metal frame. Back then, Redmi Note 3, 4, 5 were using aluminum frame and switched to plastic frame since Redmi Note 6 Pro. The screen is 6.67-inch Full HD IPS LCD screen with a punch hole where Redmi call it dot display. It also comes with a screen protector which is very nice for temporary protection. And the screen refresh rate is only at 60Hz. The bezel is thinner than Redmi Note 7, though the chin is thinner than before, but it is still obviously thicker than the rest of the bezel. Display color is much vivid than Redmi Note 7. The colors on Redmi Note 9S is much warmer, as we can see the red, orange, and yellow colors are showing much better on Redmi Note 9S. But when compared with the AMOLED screen on Xiaomi Mi Nightlight, then of course the AMOLED screen is much brighter and much vivid. Black color is way much darker on AMOLED screen. This is why Apple choose to use technology from Samsung or LG. Moreover, AMOLED and OLED screens consuming much lesser power than the LCD screen. Although the screen resolution is about the same on Redmi Note 9S and Redmi Note 7, but Redmi Note 9S has bigger screen. Hence the density of the pixel is much lower and the pixel dot can be seen with our naked eyes. Redmi Note 9S has screen bleeding issue, while the screen showing different brightness across the display. The screen bleeding on Redmi Note 9S happen around the edges of the screen. It is really obvious and thick all around. A lot of users have complained about this, though the screen bleeding cannot be seen after update to latest MIUI. But it also lowers the brightness of the screen. Burn mark can be found easily if you haven't updated to latest MIUI. It happens when the same picture stays on the screen for a while. For my case, it's only about 3 minutes, and when I open a plain grey picture, the burn mark can be seen pretty obvious. Even the burn mark of the navigating buttons can be seen, though these burn marks are not permanent, but it is still very annoying when it happens. That is another issue with the screen, where we can find the shadow around the edges, especially when we look at it with some angle. We can find it around the punch hole. Looks like they are permanently damaged during the screen cutting process. This is the biggest issue with the Redmi Note 9S, although the price is cheaper than its competitors, but the screen is most important part for user interaction, and now it just looks like a low quality smartphone. The earpiece is very thin, and the notification LED is hidden under this earpiece, but it is so difficult to notice such a tiny LED unless we are in a darker environment, otherwise we will not get notified by this LED. The front camera is 60 megapixel with f2.48 aperture and it can record 120 frames per second slow-mo video and panorama selfie. It is placed in the middle of the screen, so you don't have to adjust the position when taking selfie. 4 cameras at the back are placed in the protruded platform, and they are 8 megapixel f2.2 aperture ultra wide angle camera, a Samsung 2nd generation 48 megapixel f1.79 aperture main camera, a 2 megapixel f2.4 aperture depth sensor camera, and a 5 megapixel f2.4 aperture macro camera. These 4 cameras are about the same on Redmi Note 8, and I will show you some of the photo and videos from this camera later in this video. Be sure to stay tuned for more reviews. Redmi branding and other safety certification can be found at the back of the phone. The volume rockers and power button are located at the right. The power button is also a fingerprint sensor. This side-mounted fingerprint sensor is best for the right thumb and also the left index finger. The card slot is on the left of the phone, and there is a dedicated slot for memory card, so you are able to use 2 nano SIM cards and 1 microSD card simultaneously. There is a noise cancellation microphone and IR blaster at the top of the phone. The earpiece can be seen from this angle, but it is not being used for stereo speaker and neither this phone has stereo speaker. At the bottom of the phone, there is an earphone jack, USB Type-C port, main microphone and a speaker. It is great that Redmi retained the earphone jack and IR blaster, which I believe a lot Redmi Note series users are happy to see them. The protruded camera's platform is very tall as we view from the side. For those who throw the phone on table or any hard surface, you might have to be much careful not to break the cameras. I have seen quite a number of cases on the forum where people have posted their Redmi Note 9 as broken lenses. The battery capacity is 5020 mAh with highest 18W fast charging. 18W is not really fast if compared with the other company's same range smartphone. And strangely, the charger is able to support up to 22.5W fast charging. Redmi has never provided a charger that supports the phone faster charging level on previous generation. And the charger in India version Redmi Note 9 Pro can only support up to 18W. If Redmi Note 9S also comes with the same 18W charger, will the price be much cheaper? Why should consumer pay more for something that they can't use it? Redmi Note 9S is using Snapdragon 723 processor. The rest of the settings are just like Redmi Note 8 Pro, and this processor is slightly better than the one on Xiaomi Mi Nightlight. The variants are 4GB RAM with 64GB storage and 6GB RAM with 128GB storage, with the price tag at 799 and 899 Malaysian Ringgit. This phone doesn't support 5G, but if you're looking for a mid-range 5G phone, you probably should look at Xiaomi Mi 10 Youth Edition. Xiaomi Malaysia official website doesn't say anything about voice over Wi-Fi on Redmi Note 9S, but Xiaomi India official page for Redmi Note 9 Pro does mention that it supports voice over Wi-Fi. Voice over Wi-Fi is useful for me as I always get poor reception at home. If you're wondering whether Redmi Note 9S supports Netflix, the answer is yes, but the highest resolution is only at 480p. We can also file Game Turbo on Redmi Note 9S, but there is only Wi-Fi and touch control optimization. There is no sound optimization like Xiaomi Mi Nightlight. The gaming experience is not bad. It maintains around 50 frames per second while playing PUBG. Shadows, reflections, smoke and other visual effects are pretty smooth. The phone doesn't heat up much while playing game. Now let's take a look on the Panorama Selfie. Turn on the selfie mode, choose Panorama and follow the instruction turning the phone left and right. And now we have a wider coverage selfie photo. The down point is both sides of the image are being twisted. You are allowed to adjust the background blurring effect after taking a photo with portrait mode. This feature is useful when you want to blur out the background after the photo has been taken. And if you want more privacy, just use studio lighting to remove the background. Beautify mode is turned on by default, hence it automatically smoothens your skin, narrow your face and enlarge your eyes. The default background blurring on portrait mode is quite natural, and if you don't like it, you are allowed to adjust the blurring manually. The front camera performs very well in the bright environment and it does a good job in the night light, but when it comes to very low light, it is not as good as Xiaomi Mi Nightlight. The front camera is able to record 720p and 1080p videos. Both are only in 30 frames per second without image stabilization, hence it's quite challenging to move and record. Video recording in Nightlight doesn't perform so well. As you can see, my face is being blurred out every now and then. Slow motion selfie video only at 720p and 120 frames per second, but I don't think we will use it very often. The main camera only taking 12 megapixel photo by default, and you are not allowed to use HDR mode when you change it to 48 megapixel. So I don't recommend to use 48 megapixel when the contrast is strong. We are allowed to use HDR mode on ultra wide angle camera. We can even zoom in here, but Redmi Note 9S doesn't have telephoto camera, so this is just a digital zooming. To switch to macro camera, you need to turn it on in the camera option, and it's only able to focus on close object. For long distance like this, it will just be out of focus. The 48 megapixel photo on right hand side has lesser details than the 12 megapixel photo with HDR turned on. This is the difference with and without HDR. I guess the processor couldn't handle 48 megapixel large size photo, that's why HDR mode is being disabled on 48 megapixel shooting. Night mode is only allowed to shoot at 12 megapixel and the contrast handling is much heavier on the night mode, especially the area in the red circles. The night mode is terrible when shooting in very low light situation. It's better to shoot with Pro mode, but you will have to fix the phone on a tripod to achieve this. The same result can also be achieved with Google Cam's night mode. Redmi Note 9S is using Samsung camera sensor and Xiaomi Mi Nightlight is using Sony sensor. When shooting in very low light situation, Xiaomi Mi Nightlight does a better job, and the difference is much obvious when we turn on the night mode. Rear camera portrait mode also allows to adjust the background blurring after the photo has been taken. The ultra wide angle camera must be a favorite for those who like to take landscape photo, and the HDR mode brings out a lot of details in the photo. It performs very well in bright environment, but there is a lot to improve when shooting in night light. The macro camera able to focus object as close as 2 cm. The outcome will be better if we turn on the HDR mode. But there is no optical image stabilization and it doesn't perform so well in low light. So I think you may need a tripod and shooting with bright lighting for better outcome. You are now able to record video in Camera Pro mode, which allows you to manually adjust the setting. And there is a new movie frame option allows you to record video in cinema aspect ratio. Main camera video recording in 720p and 1080p 30 frames per second are coming with image stabilization, but there is no image stabilization for 1080p 60 frames per second and 4K 30 frames per second, so you might need to use gimbal for higher frame rate or 4K videos. Ultra wide angle camera is able to record video at 720p and 1080p with image stabilization, and macro camera also able to record video at 720p and 1080p but without image stabilization. Main camera video recording in night light is quite disappointing. The image becomes blurred while the camera is moving. Autofocus is not catching up with the movement. Xiaomi Mi Nightlight has better performance in this night light recording. Slow motion videos at 120 frames per second and 240 frames per second are doing pretty well. But when it comes to 960 frames per second super slow motion video, the image is so blurred. It doesn't look like 960 frames per second when compared with video from Samsung Note 9. Let's recap the pros and cons before we end this video. I like the Gorilla Glass 5 on both sides of the phone, the dedicated memory card slot with 2 SIM card slots, and also 3 cameras with new features like Panorama Selfie and Video Pro mode. Things that I don't like about this phone are the plastic body frame, camera performance not so good in low light, camera bump is very thick, and the major issue with the LCD screen. It's splitting, it leaves burn marks, and it has dark shadow. And we can expect the same issue on Redmi Note 9 Pro, as it is also using the same size IPS LCD screen with same punch hole at the top. This could be the same for the rest of the Redmi Note 9 series. And that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will see you in the next video.